Guys, NFL just released top 100 players list for the 2025, and Travis Kelce made in the list for the straight 11th year. But some random people online just don't think he deserves it, like he wasn't even good last year. And the hard part is that even Chiefs fans believe this too. So I'm going to pull up the actual numbers, show you where he really ranked, how he compared to the rest of the league's pass catchers, and honestly why some of these takes are just rubbish. After that, we're flipping over to Felix Anudike-Uzomah, because this dude is walking into a season where it's kind of put up or shut up time in Kansas City. So let's get into it. What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to the NFL Playbook, Chiefs. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Okay, so let's actually talk about this because it's honestly been bugging me all weekend. Travis Kelce made the NFL's top 100 list again. That's 11 years in a row now. And instead of people just being like, okay, cool, respect, I'm seeing comments. I'm seeing Chiefs fans of all people saying he doesn't even deserve to be on there. Like, bro wasn't even good last year, that's what people are saying. And look, I get it. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, even when it's a bad one, but let's actually pull up the numbers quickly because the numbers tell a completely different story. So there's this chart floating around, ranks 2025 skill players by EPA and success rate, and guess who's sitting near the very top of it? Travis Kelce. He's only behind 5 guys, and I'm talking Puka Nacua, Stephon Diggs, George Pickens, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Trey McBride. That's it. That's the list of people ahead of him. He was also top 10 in basically every tight end category last season, and remember, this man is 36 years old. 4th in yards, 6th in receptions, 3rd in yards after the catch, only behind Trey McBride and Tyler Warren. And then when you actually look at who led the Chiefs in receiving, it's again Kelce. 30 more targets than Rashee Rice, 23 more catches, 280 more receiving yards. Now, yeah, Rashee Rice was suspended the first 6 weeks, I know that, but even with that context, Kelce carried that group of pass catchers, there's no way around it. So, now here's the thing that I think is actually making confusion. He was ranked 79th on this list, and honestly, he's been falling every single year. This isn't 2023 where he was ranked 5th, or 2024 where he was 9th. He fell from 9th all the way to 37th last year, and now from 37th down to 79th this year. So yeah, you can see the decline happening in real time, and I don't think anybody's pretending he's still a top 5 tight end in the league. But 79 out of 100 for a guy his age. That's not some ridiculous inflated number, that's actually pretty fair, and remember, this list gets voted on by the players themselves, guys who actually go against these tight ends every single week. So, when the players are telling you he belongs, I'm going to go ahead and side with the players on this one over some random guy in the comments section. Is this list a little bit of a popularity contest sometimes? Sure, I'll give you that, but I still think they got this one right. Look, I'm not going to sit here and act like Kelce was perfect last year either. No, he wasn't. He had some uncharacteristic drops. Some of those drops turned into interceptions that honestly hurt the team. His drop rate was 8.4%. That's as high as since 2015 when it was 8.5%. So no, I'm not going to be some Homer Chiefs fan and pretend everything was clean. It wasn't. But think about the situation he was playing in. There was basically no run game to speak of. Patrick Mahomes was running for his life half the time because he couldn't find anybody else open. Rice was suspended 6 games, came back rusty. Xavier Worthy was hurt basically the entire season. None of that is ideal, and honestly, I don't even think Kelce should be the #1 target again this year. I don't think the offense should funnel through him like that in 2026. But that connection, that telepathic thing he's got going with Mahomes, that's basically impossible to defend, and that's part of what makes him so special still. His ability to read a defense and react in real time even when he's going off script, and somehow Mahomes just knows that's why he's the greatest receiving tight end to ever play this game. Some would argue the greatest tight end, period. So here's how I see it. 2 things can be true at the same time. Kelce, about to turn 37, he's not in his prime anymore, that's just fact. But he's also still better than a whole lot of tight ends in this league that are like a decade younger than him. The average age of a starting tight end is what, 26, 27? So yeah, the hope going into this year is that with the running back room getting upgraded, Rice not being suspended this time, Worthy actually healthy for a full season. Tyquan Thornton expected to have a bigger role. Eric Bieniemy back as offensive coordinator, that this offense just looks better overall without needing Kelce to carry it the way he did last year. Now, quickly I want to talk about his wedding. I'm not going to get into the details of that whole thing. That's not really my lane, but I will say it was cool seeing so many current and former teammates show up. Alex Smith was there, Clyde Edwards, Kareem Hunt, Patrick Mahomes obviously, a bunch of the tight ends who've been on that roster over the years, Trey Smith, even Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo showed up. Bunch of celebrities too, I'm sure, but honestly, I was way more locked in on which Chiefs guys pulled up. That stuff means more to me. Okay, now moving to the second topic, I promise you in the intro is Felix Anudike-Uzomah. This is a big one. This is basically a make-or-break year for the guy. If I'm being real with you, if you ask me pick one player on this roster who could have a breakout and completely change how this defense looks, defensive end is where my mind goes, and specifically, it's him. This guy's got a real high acquisition cost attached to his name being a former first-round pick, and so far the production just hasn't matched that investment. And now he's heading into a season where his future with this team is genuinely on the line. So there's an article out there breaking this whole thing down, and the benchmark they're using is basically a Mike Dana type season. Like, that's the realistic ceiling here, not some jump to a 10-sack season overnight. That's just not realistic for where he's at right now. And honestly, I remember when this pick happened, I was kind of floored at the time. I didn't really get it. Felt like the Chiefs were trying to have this Cinderella storyline going. Super Bowl year, hosting the draft, Kansas City kid. And if that was really the motivation behind it, it kind of bit them a little bit. Now, the real question people are asking is, can he actually put together a career year without the pressure of being the guy opposite George Karlaftis? Because let's be honest about where he's at statistically. Half a sack his rookie year, then 2.5 sacks the year after that, so he actually did multiply that by 5, which sounds impressive until you realize we're talking about 2.5 total sacks. There was a stat line floating around asking if 41 pressures, 6.5 sacks, and 7 tackles for loss is unreasonable for him this year, and yeah, honestly, that's pretty unreasonable when you break it down. He's got 41 tackles through 2 seasons total, not pressures, tackles. 14 quarterback hits though, and that number actually stands out to me a little because it means even without finishing the sack, he was affecting the quarterback quite a bit more than the sack total alone shows. He had 6 tackles for loss last season, so getting to 7 this year, that's realistic. I don't have an issue with that number. But 6.5 sacks when he's only got 3 across 2 seasons combined, that's a much bigger ask. And 41 pressures off the snap counts he's actually played, that conversion rate just doesn't really line up. So, if I'm completely honest, I kind of lean toward thinking his time in Kansas City might be running out. But here's the other side of it, because I do want to be fair here. What if he was actually starting to figure things out and then got hurt right before it clicked? I'm not going to sit here and claim I know what happened. I'm not a doctor, I'm not in that building, but it does feel like every single year there's a guy or two that ends up on injured reserve right before the season kicks off, and you kind of wonder about the timing sometimes. Not accusing anybody of anything, that's probably something that happens across the whole league, honestly, not just here. So, the real question becomes, was he actually getting comfortable in the system and just genuinely dealing with an injury that derailed the breakout year? It's possible. He does have the tools, that part isn't really in question. The tools are there, we just haven't seen him consistently put it together on the field yet. And look, going back to his college tape, I wasn't super impressed then either. If I'm being honest, that was kind of my read at the time. And there's usually a guy or two every draft that I'm hoping the Chiefs pass on and they end up taking anyway. He was one of those. Xavier Worthy was another one where I had my doubts. R. Mason Thomas too. So hopefully that the last one proves me completely wrong this time. And worst case scenario here is he just doesn't show up during camp or preseason, and that forces the coaching staff into a real decision. But from what it sounds like, the competition behind him isn't exactly overwhelming either, so Kansas City seems fine giving him this one more real shot to prove it. There's a pass rush by committee idea being floated too. Him working alongside guys like Ashton Gallott and R. Mason Thomas with George Karlaftis anchoring the other side, and then the interior getting help from guys like Chris Jones, Peter Woods, Omar Norman Lott, and Khyiris Tonga. If that combination clicks even a little bit, this defensive front could genuinely look different than what we've seen in the past couple of years. So, is it likely he'll become some double-digit sack guy this season? No, I don't think so, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise. But is there a version of this where he becomes an actual real contributor in a rotational role? Something closer to that Mike Dana benchmark everybody keeps bringing up? Yeah, I think that's within reach if the health cooperates, and the reps are actually there for him. Either way, this is genuinely one of the storylines I'm watching closest heading into camp, because the difference between him stepping up and him not showing anything could really shape how this whole defensive front looks in 2026. And honestly, the experience argument doesn't move the needle for me at all when people bring it up. Yeah, he's got more reps in this system than almost anybody outside of George Karlaftis, but I don't think that experience translates automatically into production. I think it's more about coaching and reps on the field than just being around the building longer. Learning how Steve Spagnuolo, once the edge set and the run defended that stuff, takes time to click regardless of how many years you've technically been in the building. And it looks like he's still working through that piece of it. That's what I've got for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments where you land on both of these, whether you think the Kelce disrespect is overblown like I do, and whether you think Anudike Uzomah actually breaks out this season, or if his time in Kansas City is basically done. Appreciate you guys watching. Hit that like button if you got something out of this, and I'll see you in the next one.